I'm Casey Claiborne, and thanks for watching this CrimeWatch YouTube exclusive, where we take a look back at recent crime stories that have been making headlines in our area. An officer is recovering after being shot and wounded in southeast Austin. New video shows the shootout between an Austin police officer and a person on August the 6th. You can see an officer firing shots in the street before ducking and running for cover. Fox 7 Austin's CrimeWatch reporter Meredith Aldis has that story.
And I had never in my life seen so many police cars. I better not ever hear anybody complain about not having enough police in this town, because we had more than enough out here last night.
Multiple law enforcement agencies lined the southeast Austin neighborhood as an Austin police officer called out he had been shot.
This was a very chaotic scene and turned out to require quite a bit of resources.
A concerned resident called for police to check on his neighbor. Police showed up 2 hours later. At this point, it was dark outside.
This individual had not been seen for several months, and there was concern for the person's safety.
Neighbors say he doesn't leave his home. The only time they've seen him outside is to take the trash out about every other month. APD officers knocked on the door of the neighbor last night. No answer.
Within a few moments, officers determined that they were going to make forced entry. Within seconds, they were confronted by a resident who approached them with a firearm.
The shootout began. This video shows an APD officer shooting at the suspect. One bullet flew through the window of this neighbor's home.
If it hadn't been a stone house, we would have been shot by the police.
Another video clip shows the suspect came out of his home with a shotgun and fired several rounds in the neighborhood. One bullet went through this window and into the children's playroom in the neighbor's home.
I was scared to death. Yeah, we knew there was somebody shooting in our house.
And this neighbor says the injured officer took cover in his garage.
And they apparently thought that we were somehow involved. And I just kept telling them, no, it's the guy in that house. It's that house.
He says APD detained he and his wife for hours. And during that time, their front door was blown to pieces. So what remains are boarded up doors, torn down fences, and bullet holes scattered in the neighborhood. Meredith Aldis, Fox 7 Austin News.
Austin police have released body camera video in a case where a man, 60-year-old James Woodrome, was shot and killed by officers. This happened on the morning of July 20th on Menchaca Road in South Austin. We want to warn you the video you're about to see may be disturbing. This all started when dispatch got a call about a woman banging on an apartment door. She was saying a man was chasing her with a knife. Police say when they got to the scene and were talking to the woman, Woodrome walked toward them with a knife in his hands. They told him over and over to drop it, but he didn't listen. Two officers used their tasers on Woodrome, but neither of them worked.
Okay, get back.
Shoot me.
Stop. Get back.
Stop approaching.
Stop.
Stop approaching. Stop. Shut up.
Drop the knife.
No, shoot me. Stop. Stop. Stop.
The two officers that used their tasers and the one that fired his gun are all on standard leave. There will be both criminal and administrative investigations. Lago Vista police have arrested a city employee after the body of her teenage son was found buried in a vacant lot. 34-year-old Veronica Soriano is charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence of a human corpse. Child Protective Service workers went to her house back in March to look for her 16-year-old son, Caleb Gonzalez, who had a disability. His doctors reported the teen had not received proper medical treatment since October. According to arrest paperwork, police found Soriano's vehicle with shovels and blood on the interior. She finally admitted her son was dead and buried. Soriano's text messages show the death wasn't reported because she thought detectives would suspect neglect and she would be jailed. Caleb's body was found wearing only a diaper and was buried with charcoal and wood chips. A 6-year-old girl is in critical condition after being involved in a 3-vehicle crash on I-35 that Round Rock police say was caused by a drunk driver. The little girl was rescued after several bystanders jumped into action to save her. Fox 7 Austin's Amanda Ruiz spoke with one of them.
caught on dash cam a white Dodge truck speeding on I-35.
And I was thinking in my mind, like, is he going to stop? Is he going to stop? Is he going to stop?
In a matter of seconds, that white Dodge slammed into a car, causing it to crumple into the back of a big rig, that truck ending up on top of the car. The crash causing traffic to stop in its tracks and bystanders to hop out of their vehicles.
I didn't even hesitate. I didn't think.
This man who spoke to Fox 7 Austin anonymously by the phone was one of the bystanders who jumped into action while his 3 kids sat in his car.
Me and the bystanders got the guy to back the truck off of the car. We were able to get the mom out of the vehicle, and we didn't know there was anybody else in the car at that time.
Once the mom was safe, that's when this man found out a little girl was still in that car, trapped.
She just started to scream bloody murder that my baby girl is in the car, my baby girl is in the car.
The car was smashed. He didn't believe anyone, let alone a little girl, was still inside until he and a few others broke through the driver's side window and saw her, an image that is burned in his memory.
I was basically able to barely see a little patch of skin and face and blonde hair, and that's when I just almost started to puke myself.
He didn't move her, afraid to make it worse, but he and other bystanders were able to direct traffic to get law enforcement to the girl and take her to the hospital where she had to undergo emergency brain surgery. A GoFundMe put up in her name confirms the crash resulted in her having a fractured skull and spine, damage to her right optic nerve, and a traumatic brain injury.
And then to find out this girl was alive was just, that had to be God right there, covering her up with his body wrapped around her. There's no other way about it.
The driver of the Dodge truck is named Pedro Jaimes Suarez. He was arrested on scene for intoxication assault.
Just to know that he was drunk and careless like that, it just makes me sick to my stomach and so disgusted.
And although the situation has deeply impacted this man,
I'm getting choked up now talking about it.
he says he would not change how he responded at all.
I hate what I seen because I don't think I'll ever forget it, but I would do it again in a heartbeat because, at the end of the day, black, white, purple, drug addict, or a lawyer, it's a human life, and it's very valuable.
Amanda Ruiz, Fox 7 Austin News.
Austin police have arrested a man accused of driving while intoxicated and causing a crash that killed 4 people. Police say Arthur Lee Wright had been out celebrating his 35th birthday. The crash happened on July 30th in front of the Toyota dealership off of I-35. APD says the video captured by the dealership shows Wright driving southbound on the service road in a tan Lincoln. His car hit a black Nissan from behind, causing the Nissan to turn sideways and roll over. After the Nissan came to a stop, it burst into flames. 5 people were inside. 1 was able to escape. The other 4 were found dead inside of the car. Video goes on to show Wright took off. He was found about 2 hours later with scratches all over his body and thorny burrs covering his head and clothes. Officers say he showed signs of being intoxicated.
Anytime there's a collision of that magnitude, we have to be very cautious of that and approaching that scene.
Wright has been charged with 4 counts of accident involving death and 4 counts of intoxicated manslaughter. Bond is set at more than $600,000. Court documents reveal new information about the kidnapping and sexual assault of a teenager in Austin. The affidavit names 5 people involved, and some have been charged with felonies in the past. Fox 7 Austin's Meredith Aldis has this week's Crime Watch.
The Travis County District Attorney says his office intends to hold the suspect accountable. Willie Ray Thompson is a felon. His criminal history dates back to 1994 for unlawful carrying of a weapon when he was 19 years old. He's had more than 20 cases in Travis County. More than a dozen are felonies, including possession of controlled substances and manufacturing and delivering of controlled substances. The Travis County District Attorney's Office says they take acts of violence to our community seriously and look forward to working with the Austin Police Department to hold the suspect accountable in this most recent case. Thompson has been charged with trafficking a child and engaging in sexual conduct and sexual assault of a child. Court documents state on July 25th, a 16-year-old girl was picked up at a gas station in South Austin. She was taken to a residence where Thompson injected her with meth and sexually assaulted her. 2 other men are also named in the court documents as potentially engaging in sexual conduct too. In an attempt to get away, Austin police say the teen came up with a plan.
She convinced them to let her go into the store.
This Lowe's in South Austin.
She said she needed to use the restroom. Once inside the store, she ran to the back of the store, found a place to hide,
and contacted police.
She had escaped her kidnappers and gave us detailed descriptions about what they looked like, what vehicle they were driving, and where she was in the store.
When police arrived, they found 3 suspects: 48-year-old Katrina K. Creighton, 35-year-old Cordero Taylor, and Thompson. Creighton was convicted of a felony in May 2022. The teen was first reported missing 4 days prior.
I was the one who made contact with her mother and let her know that her daughter was okay. She's obviously very relieved and very emotional, and I'm glad that they're together now.
Thompson is being held on $125,000 bond. No other arrests have been made in this case. Meredith Aldis, Fox 7 Crime Watch.
The Williamson County Sheriff's Office is asking the public for help with a 35-year-old cold case. Back in 1988, S.E. Ritchie was attacked and murdered outside of his home. Today, the case remains open. His family and investigators continue to ask who did it. Fox 7 Austin's Libby Farrow takes a closer look.
You know, they grew up in a world and a time when they may not have even had screens on their windows at one point. You know, they never thought about locking doors. It was a country innocence.
On March 5th, 1988, 77-year-old S.E. Ritchie and his wife Ethel returned home after their weekly grocery trip. The couple owned and operated a laundromat in Taylor where they would collect their earnings and then run to the H-E-B every Saturday.
I saw them leaving the grocery store, which, you know, they did every Saturday night. It was very predictable, their schedule. And, you know, they walked out to their car and they loaded the groceries and then left. And about 30 minutes later, an ambulance came by, lights and sirens. And I saw it head out that direction. And I just knew.
When they arrived at their home, which was located in rural Shiloh, Texas, they were brutally attacked in their driveway.
This was about 10 p.m. when they arrived home that day. They had established a pattern of closing the laundromat down, go into H-E-B to buy the groceries, and then go into their house. I think it's likely someone knew that they, you know, closed the laundromat down and had the money from that, and more or less targeted them to go and take the money from them.
During the attack, S.E. Ritchie was struck in the head with a blunt object, and Ethel was knocked unconscious. Police determined the couple were targets of a robbery.
An unknown suspect or suspects robbed Mr. Ritchie. It was roughly $300.
S.E. Ritchie died just 17 days later from his injuries.
And I think your grandma Ethel kind of changed.
She was never right after that either, of course. She could never really remember. The first probably 6 weeks after this happened, I stayed over there with her every night. She had bars put on her windows and the door secured, but she could never really remember what happened.
Carla says the family dynamic has never been the same since the attack.
Like a piece of glass that a rock hits, and it just runs. The cracks and the breakage just runs, and it hasn't stopped to this day.
Ethel passed away years later due to natural causes and is buried next to her husband. Even though 35 years have passed, Carla still wants justice for her grandfather.
He'd fight for me, and that's why I fight for him. He'd do anything in the world for me. And we're gonna figure this out.
We will figure it out.
I'm not gonna stop.
Investigators are in the process of having evidence retested and hope more information will help them close this case.
The Hays County Sheriff's Office is looking into a device to restrain people without using force or pain. This comes as the use of force cases are top of mind for law enforcement, including Hays County after a deadly officer-involved shooting last December. Fox 7 Austin's CrimeWatch reporter Meredith Aldis has this story too.
A representative for BolaWrap says this device helps reduce the use of force.
I think it's critically important in the climate we live in today, but I think, technology's finally caught up with law enforcement.
Wrap.
When deployed, the bolo wrap fires a lasso-like tether with hooks on each end that wraps around a person's arms or legs, preventing them from fleeing, kicking, or punching.
Any type of tool that we can use to better equip our officers to ensure that not only they're safe, but the community members are safe as well. That's important for any agency to look at that.
Wrap, wrap, wrap.
Nichols says this tool can be used before pepper spray, beanbags, a taser, baton, or a gun. And it doesn't rely on pain for the person to submit.
It's a paradigm shift. This is an absolute paradigm shift for law enforcement.
Back in April, a Hays County grand jury indicted a Hays County corrections officer with a felony offense of deadly conduct. The sheriff's office says in December 2022, 27-year-old Hays County corrections officer Isaiah Garcia shot and killed inmate Joshua Wright while guarding him in the hospital. When asked where the bolo wrap could be helpful in the department, Hippolito says,
Everywhere, not only in the jail, not only the corrections officers that make those transports to and from the courthouse, the hospital, but on the streets. Not only law enforcement officers that patrol on a daily basis, but our mental health officers as well.
The Georgetown Police Department just finished up their training, and they'll have 16 of these devices to use. Reporting in Hays County, Meredith Aldis, Fox 7 Austin News.
And finally, according to a new study, one city in Williamson County ranks as the safest spot in the country with low rates of vehicle thefts. It's Round Rock. And Fox 7 Austin's Williamson County reporter Lauren Rangel finds the city came out on top after MarketWatch compared every city in the country with a population of at least 100,000.
53 vehicles. That's how many people MarketWatch says reported a stolen vehicle in 2019 in Round Rock.
Which was actually the lowest that was on there. I think the second was Port St. Lucie, Florida.
MarketWatch says it looked at the most recent data from the FBI. It shows almost 40 thefts per 100,000 people in 2019 in Round Rock.
I think people don't always realize how much it affects even just your rates and your insurance rate, other than the fact that you might actually get your car, taken. But just how it kind of where you live and that if you are living in a safer area, I think it should offer them peace of mind.
Round Rock resident Pam Barnett knows, unfortunately, what it's like to be a part of the statistic.
You walk out there and you're looking around the driveway and you're trying to think, well, I came out here for something, and then you're like, my vehicle's gone. It was just gone.
Her vehicle was stolen just a few months ago, but she was one of the lucky ones.
The police's response in Round Rock was really fast. Just recovering my car, I was very, very thankful for.
Not only does she say her car was found a few miles away, but it wasn't damaged. Only paperwork and other stolen belongings were scattered on the inside of the truck.
I've lived here my entire life and really have always felt safe everywhere. It's funny when something like that happens, it just kind of makes you feel compromised a little bit.
While she says low vehicle thefts in 2019 seems realistic, it's something that keeps her up at night in 2023.
I worry if it's going to happen again. I mean, I'm always looking out the window in the middle of the night. I jump up and I look to see if I hear something or whatever. So never had to really do that before.
MarketWatch offers some tips for you to keep your vehicle safe. Experts say the simplest things: lock your vehicle doors, remove any valuable items. You can also get cameras and try to park in well-lit areas. Thanks for watching the Fox 7 Austin Crime Watch YouTube exclusive. Our Crime Watch stories run each Monday on Fox 7 Austin News at 9. If you missed them, you can watch anytime on our new Fox Local Connected TV app. It's free to download, and you can watch on Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Fire TV. For more on the stories highlighted in this episode, you can head to our website, fox7austin.com, and don't forget to subscribe to the Fox 7 Austin YouTube channel.